Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Jimbo here. Been a little bit lacking in my presence lately, but thankfully Kitty has been making up for it. So we thought that a bit late to the party, but on release of this FlyJSim Q4XP not long ago, that I would try and do the review for this one, being that I have a slightly more experience on the Q400. So it's come out on XPlane. Running XPlane 11 here, and the Q4XP is I think you can find it on xplane.org for around $79.95 in dollars, which in colonial money is £60 roughly, and about 70 euros. So it's not an insignificant amount of money by any means, and what I'm going to do in this video is just run you briefly through lots of discoveries that we've made, trying to pick everything apart and push as many buttons as possible on this aircraft. So the aim is to keep this video short. I hope I managed to live up to that, but give you guys a summary of everything that we've discovered and our thoughts on the aircraft. So first of all, I am currently running on version 1.12, which is a few revisions after the original release. So there are a few potential fixes that have already come out for lots of problems, and we can test it in its current form as of 1.12. Now, as you can see here, we've got the screen set up on the old iPad. I can't remember what they call this thing. JPad, I think it was. And we have a wonderful livery. I'll come back to that screen in a second. We have a wonderful livery here, fresh off the press, to be honest. It's not been out for long. Someone snapped it recently, and another person got to work pretty quickly on bringing it into the FlyJSim Q400, which is pretty swift, to be honest with you, and it's very nice looking indeed. So we've got this livery on. We're currently on stand 16 in Edinburgh. Pretty stock on my Q400 at the moment. I've got a few add-on improvements, such as I think I've got some ground handling upgrades, but apart from that it's pretty standard. I was going to do this in the south of the UK, and I've got some texture upgrades for the south of the UK, ORBX textures, but it takes so long to load that I've just decided to do this all in Scotland. So it's going to be a brief flight later on. We'll go from Edinburgh, probably hop over to Glasgow, just to give ourselves a chance to climb to altitude and then descend down for an ILS into Glasgow, with a little bit of handling on the way and some other aspects to review. Internally though, it is very beautiful. It looks like they've done a lot of work on modelling this interior, and I think visually you're probably going to be up there. I mean, in some cases it's probably better than what I would compete this with, which is going to be the Majestic Q400 on the prepared platform. But you can see they've put a lot of work into this. I've got the storm lights on, nice little bit of light and shadow effects all over the panel. It does look glorious. I've got the latest AirRack cycle on here as well. You can do that through Navigraph. Other options are available, but that's how I've updated mine. So I'm on the latest cycle there, which is great. And back over to the iPad briefly, or sorry, the JPad. You can change a few things. As you can see, we have extensively fiddled with this. You cannot be heavier than 210 kilograms, which is a shame, because there might be a few bariatric pilots out there who wish they were able to fly themselves around. And you can't be above 108 years of age. So some of those current record holders around the 118 mark, I'm sorry, you can't fly this aircraft, or you'll have to lie about your age. But you'll be pleased to know that you can type any characters you like into the gender fields, as you can see. Kitty is my first officer. In fact, this is probably a good time to say hello.
Hello everyone.
He's going to be my able assistant today, and obviously he's going to be subject to a barrage of abuse if he gets it wrong. But as you can see, we've assigned him the sex of the more than symbol, and I'm in the left seat with a bizarrely gender of less than. Who knows what that means? But you can type whatever you like in there, which is great. It's very accommodating, isn't it, Kitty?
Yeah, fantastic. It's what I've always wanted to be, a 76 kilo, 107-year-old more than symbol.
You can be whatever you want to be in this aircraft, and that's what matters. That in itself justifies the price, I think.
I think so too.
So you've got the usual guff in here then, who you work for, who's operating it, sorry, and the airline that it's working for, the aircraft's reg, not sure if that actually changes it on here, answers on a postcard, your cell code and what year it's been built. Don't know why that's important, probably won't change anything in the sim. I mean, maybe if you made it 100 years old it would start to fatigue, I don't know. Doubt it though. And that's really the front page. You even get the patch notes on here, and there's a good updating tool. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Skunkcraft's Updater, and that will easily update the aircraft even while in the sim, which is good for me because my 40-minute load time on the Southern England textures means that I don't really want to have to quit out, update it and load back in again. Thanks XPlane. Then you've got your load and balance. Great little diagram here of the aircraft, and you can actually manipulate the doors on this picture as well, which is a nice bit of detail, and lots of other settings as you require. Your load data's on this screen as well. I'm going to customize all of this before we actually go flying, but just to show you a quick summary really. And you can do various loads and choose, maybe? No, you can't choose what seats they occupy, but you can choose a preset load and it will just fill them up for you. And it'll even show you their names on the seats here. Let me just see if I can select a load and I'll show you what I mean. There we go. Someone in there yet? Nope. We'll need to open the door and let them on, I think. Then we got the load summary page, which will give you your CFG position here for your trimming reasons, and a few other things on the side as well. We've got rear stairs here, so you can use both doors actually, and to be fully immersive. And to fuel before loading passengers. Brilliant. After that, you've got extensive checklists. Not really sure. Oh wow, it's got detailed information on there as well. Not really sure what pattern this is following, because of course it could be the manufacturer's checklist, but then operators tend to customize them a little bit as well, so it could be one of those. I haven't really looked into too much detail on that yet. I noticed there's a toggle here as well, probably for emergency checklists, which haven't been introduced, which is a bit disappointing, because you know, for that sort of price point you may be talking about this being a study level aircraft and you'd want to have failures and things like that, but they haven't preloaded the emergency checklists. Might have to go back to paper for that. And then you've got your usual options, various things that you might want to change on here, what it loads up as with the engines off, which seat you're sat in, and also which controls you move. And this is quite important when you start disconnecting them, which all works, by the way. That's really, really fancy. Changing units and so on and so on. I won't go into too much detail there, but you can pause the screen here and see what I've set. I've made a few changes. Obviously I can't even read inches of mercury, so I had to move away from that straight away, and I'm using kilos. Cool. What else then? So I mean, in terms of detail, we've got a whole array of circuit breakers here. If I can just move around the side of my seat, here we go. Now you can click them all out, but they don't. Well, that's probably a bad one to test because the degas doesn't work. But anyway, some of them actually do have an effect, whilst others don't. So it's not a fully implemented circuit breaker system yet, but there are quite a few that do work. I'm under the impression that some did work that subsequently have stopped working, and also others that were never meant to work on release. But rumours are that they are going to bring out patches so that they all work eventually, but we shall see. You can leave your notes in here if you want, nothing nasty though, because someone else will have to read it. The map lights and all sorts are all operational around the sides. You can even move your rudder pedals backwards and forwards if you're really short. So there is lots of detail on here. I'm not going to go into too much depth. You can even open the top hatch, which I think actually is something you can't do in the Majestic. I'll have to confirm this, but I'm pretty sure you can't. And FMS, I like the FMS. There's a few little features that are not really included. which would have been brilliant if they were, but this has been coded from the ground up. I did look at some of the screenshots and the processes that the coders and developers were using at the time, so you can tell they've put a lot of work into the FMS, among other things, which is fantastic. One of the things that we talked about, if you haven't seen it, on the CRJ video for FlyJSim, was just how they implemented the modelling of the hydraulic systems. And something that I just wanted to bring your attention to is how it should be done. Now, as you might imagine, again, I'm going to go back to the price here, but for an aircraft at this price, they should have modelled all the systems to a good level. And it looks like, in terms of the flying controls, they have. So, for example, we do have ailerons on this aircraft. The gust lock for the roll control is here, so if I disconnect the gust lock, there isn't any hydraulic pressure, so we're not expecting the rudder or the elevators, because they are fully hydraulically powered. We're not expecting those to work. However, the ailerons are mechanically linked, so they should. And if we have a look outside, I'm wiggling the ailerons here. Or rather, I'm rolling the yoke. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And now if I do pitch, nothing is happening on the pitch, so the elevator is not moving because we don't have hydraulics. And the rudder, again, nothing. So that is spot on. They've modelled it perfectly. And of course, when the hydraulic pressures come up, then those systems start to work. So that's a bonus point to FlyJSim. I'll just briefly talk about the history of the aircraft as well, including my experience with it. So I've only got experience on the Q400. There was a couple of other generations before that, obviously the 300, 200 and 100 series. I've only ever flown the 400, which is the largest of them and the most modern. The Q400 has a few seat configurations. I'm used to the 78 seat configuration, which I believe is also on this aircraft. I'm not sure why it says 29 there, but if you go on to the next page, 77 seats. Oh no, there we go, 78 seats. So this is the same configuration as I'm used to, which is also, I think, probably the most common configuration you'll see for a Q400. I believe there was talk about doing an 88 seat version, but I think they were going to chop out the front hold, which is called hold 5, for that purpose, but that's not really materialised as far as I know. So I've got quite a few thousand hours in this aircraft in both seats. I haven't flown it in a little while, but it's very close to my heart, and I do feel that I can give quite a constructive review on an add-on for most flight sims, especially when it's a Q400. So yeah, you're talking about a twin turboprop powered aircraft, a couple of cargo holds at the back, nice and powerful engines, unlike some of the competitors. They're just over 5,000 horsepower each, shaft horsepower that is, and the 5,000 horsepower comes when you push it right past the rating descent into the emergency power. So it's not the permanent power available, but the engines are more than capable. Even at reduced power, it's about 4,580 horsepower, and that's plenty for what you need. Great characteristics with one engine, even full up with passengers, or fully loaded with passengers and cargo. It's got great single engine performance. So all round, it is quite a nice turboprop. And then thanks to both those engines, and let's be honest, it looks quite sleek, and it's not a bad looking aircraft anyway. It is quite quick. So up at 250, flight level 250, which is the ceiling, you'll get about 230, 240 knots indicated, which is usually about 330 to 350 knots TAS, which is not bad for a turboprop, and it certainly means that this thing can compete on shorter distances with a lot of jets, and I have seen it plenty of times in real life. So it's a great little turboprop. Well, I say little, actually, it's probably, to be honest, one of the biggest turboprops, and definitely a capable one at that. So far, like I say, we've got the clickable circuit breakers not being entirely featured. There are a few little quirks that we've discovered. I'm going to go through them as we go through the flight, really. The big ones really for me, which I think are kind of disappointing, are, if you haven't noticed them already, the TCAS and weather radar are both not featured on release, or even now on patch 1.12. It's just not supported. and neither is TCAS, so you're missing a lot of data on your MFD screen. So no terrain, no TCAS, and no weather radar. That, to be quite honest, the XPlane engine, as far as I know, has reasonable capacity to really handle these, and it's not been included on first release. To pay that sort of money up front and not have it straight away, I mean, they are saying that it's coming, which you would hope, really, but right now you want it, to be honest. Also, we've noticed some interesting things, and we'll see more on this later. It doesn't really seem to yaw with power changes. Now, you've got two massively powerful engines that we've just talked about with around a 13-foot prop diameter. And if you make power changes on that thing in real life, you're going to get it yawing a lot. And by that I mean it's going to be out of coordination, it's going to slip or skid depending on the circumstances. So you're often making a lot of adjustments with the rudder trim. And in this one, you don't need to. You can take off with rudder trim neutral, and you don't need to do anything in flight. That's a jet characteristic, that's not this. I think maybe it's a jet model or something like that on this aircraft, and it just doesn't really handle the characteristics properly for power changes in a turboprop with huge propellers. The PFD seems to be missing a track made good, so that's a little magenta diamond on it, but you'll see more on that later. It does show it on the MFD, but it usually shows on both. I'm not sure why it's not on the PFD, but it is on the MFD. Also, we've been testing this because it's a perfect day for it as well. The icing conditions, I'm not sure if it's a sim flaw or if it's a problem with this aircraft, but I've certainly seen icing simulated an XPlane in the past, but I haven't made any comparison with it recently. It doesn't seem to be modelled at all in this aircraft. We've run the feature where we can see what the sim is actually doing in terms of icing, and it never says that we're going through icing conditions, despite the fact that we're flying through thick cloud from a range of 5 degrees positive Celsius all the way down to -10. It just didn't pick up ice. It didn't flash the ice warning on the ED, and yeah, we didn't visually pick up any ice. But we will show you the boots, because the boots are animated and they look great, and we'll do that when the engine is running. Also, something I think that really Majestic hasn't got anything on, the wiper blades. If anyone's noticed before, you might have seen some pictures in a Q400, the wiper blades are always vertical. There's a good reason for that. They're very noisy when they're in the horizontal position, and just to illustrate that, they've got very long wiper arms, and when they're parked, the wiper arms are going across the front of the fuselage, and then the blades sit just off the glass itself on the frame of the window. That's when it's parked, and as a result of these being almost 90 degrees to the airflow, they make a bit of a racket. They make a kind of a noticeable rushing of air sound. So what we often do is we park them in the vertical. Now, the manufacturer doesn't approve this, but it does make a difference to the noise. And believe it or not, that's been modelled, which is just incredible. So we've got a lot of detail in some areas, and then, in my opinion, a lacking of detail in others. But it might fly okay, so we'll get to that one when we actually do the departure. Otherwise, the route that we're going to follow, as I say, we're going to go from Edinburgh to Glasgow. We'll depart Edinburgh just on a normal FMS departure, FMS coded SID, straight over to Glasgow, and then we'll do an ILS, and we'll see how the FMS copes with that as well. Autopilot, I've heard, is the standard autopilot that you get in XPlane, but some of the behaviour characteristics are actually very similar to the real aircraft, which is quite impressive. So without further ado, what I'll do is I'll jump us across now, and we'll start. We'll probably jump straight into the aircraft being pretty much ready to push and taxi, just to save you the time. But if you want to see how we set these aircraft up, we've got a very long set of episodes with a full process of setting up the Q400. It is the Majestic one, but it's a good baseline. I'm just going to take this opportunity as well to have a little poke around the cabin, because certainly from memory of when we reviewed the CRJ, this is absolutely stunning for a you know, an add-on aircraft in any sim really. But the level of detail they've put into this and it not impact the performance too much is really impressive. And it's probably worth mentioning at this point actually, it looks like they've done some pretty smart things when it comes to rendering when this aircraft is actually being operated. And this whole cabin is hidden when you're only viewing the cockpit, and it reduces the overall impact on the performance your system has when running it, which is a fantastic little feature. I don't think many add-on makers use that, but it enables it to be such a nice high level of detail when you're looking at it, but it won't render it when you're not, so that it's not hitting your performance. I have been reliably informed though, if you leave your cockpit door open, then it will impact your performance, because you are actually able to look over your shoulder and see it all rendered. So if the cockpit door is open, it will still do it, so make sure you do that when you're in flight. There's even clickable areas in the back here, which I mean is quite impressive, and if we go in here, I hope that circuit breaker isn't pulled, because obviously it won't be functional, but you know, they've rendered everything in here. Unfortunately you can't click many things in here. Oh, that looks like it's looks like I've just clicked the cargo bay 7 outside door, so that'll be open now. But I mean, you can even lift the toilet lid up, so they didn't have to do that, but they have. I mean, that's justifying it a little bit, surely. But you know, the real cherry on the top is if you bind a button, if you go through the list of buttons in the FlyJSim options, you can even make it a functioning toilet. I mean, come on. That level of detail. I've left the door open actually, I hope no one's watching. I can assure you that wasn't a sound clip I've just played. You can actually bind a button to that and make the toilet flush. It doesn't visually flush, it's just a sound, but still, they didn't have to do that. So, just looking at the flight attendants panel here as well, everything functions. Well, the buttons function. Whether or not the ANVS actually stops and starts, I don't know. I mean, in any case, I don't think it actually functions. I've not done enough testing on that yet. But yeah, you can adjust the temperature in the cabin, you can change the unit, and you can operate the lights, which is a lovely little touch. You know, if you're really bored, you've got the thing on autopilot, you can come back here and do another job for a little while. Even the detail on the air stairs is incredible. So these parts here are all modelled moving parts. So if I can find the right clickable area here, there you go. You have to wind it up. You can see the scissor aspect of the handles does exactly what it does in real life, and then as the door comes up to the vertical position, it then slides down to lock it in place, and you slide it back up again. It slowly pushes it out, but you can see the scissor action on the arm. The handles as well, the rails as well, is just incredible, and there's a locking aspect to it there when it goes down. A little bit of a shudder for some reason. Annoyingly, the panel here doesn't seem to work. There's usually associated with the phone here, but I can't click and grab that. But the phone's not operating anyway. What about these switches over here? Think they should be upside down, and they look like placeholder buttons, because it certainly is not the GPWS flap override button, so they've probably not bothered to model them and just used an existing asset for that. Can even move the seat down. Let's go and see if we've actually opened the external door on hold 5, because that's what it sounded like to me. That's a good touch as well. When the internal door on the hold 5 is opened, there's a caution that goes off in the flight deck, and you can see that I've opened the external door when I clicked earlier, so I can just shut that as well from the inside. There you go, that's locked. I'm pretty impressed. They've even used the old red sealant that you see a lot in the cargo areas, which is just a sort of robust sealant that's used in most aircraft, and the level of detail in there is quite impressive. Now, I did struggle to shut this before. I think you need to get the handle in the right place. That's better. Moving down the cabin, unfortunately the forward right exit doesn't operate, annoyingly, but in actual fact, the escape hatch in the top of the cockpit does operate, so it's a shame that this one doesn't. But normally you'd either just pull this handle down here and then fling the door out the hole, and you can operate the ditching dam separate to that. This is a little hatch with a lever that you move across. You can see the instructions are there, sort of visible, but yeah, unfortunately it doesn't operate. But that being said, everything else, I can open the overhead lockers, all of them. I mean, the opportunities are endless. I can move up and down every single visor, every single sunshade, and I can even bring out the tray tables, which obviously in the front 2 rows are in the armrest, and in the other ones, he says, are in the back of the seat. I mean, that level of detail, come on. Now that we're all the way at the back of the aircraft as well, there's still stuff you can do back here, although I haven't quite worked out the buttons yet, and it took me probably a good 10 minutes, slight exaggeration, to get all the way down here by just moving. But yeah, you can still click the outer door here, although I'm trying to get the stairs in, because obviously the stairs come in first and then slide off to the left in that little cubby hole here, before you can shut the door, and I'm trying to remember how to do that. There's a sort of funny clickable area just here in the cubby hole, and that will bring the air stairs in. And then once that's in, you can just click just outside the door, and the door will come in, transpose, and shut. And also, you can even, if I just back it up a little bit here, you can bring the rear attendant seat over. Unfortunately, the seat part doesn't fold down, but funny little feature that, I mean, you'd have to get to all the way to the back of the cabin to actually discover. But trust me, I did. Took me a while to get here. And then you've got your hot water boilers at the back here, and usually all the catering side of things. But unfortunately, nothing else can be clicked on here, which is very sad. I was hoping to be able to make a cup of tea, but never mind. So yeah, it's quite an impressive level of detail for the cabin, and certainly not something that you see every day. It's definitely at the top when it comes to comparing it to other add-ons, not just the Majestic, but you know, the CRJ in FlyJSim. I don't recall it having anywhere near this level of detail. Unfortunately, you can't click the rear dog boxes that slide into the main aisle for you to access them, which is a bit of a shame, but still, every single overhead locker you can open. This is a nice little touch. I've just selected on the iPad to start loading passengers, and I've specified a fuel amount. And yeah, you can see we're fueling. We should have a fueling on annunciation up here. There we do. Bottom right corner. And they've got some nice little models of a fueling cart. Not really sure Edinburgh's got a ground pickup for fuel, but you know, immersion. Pretty cool. Something we noticed while fueling as well, although it's just coming to the end of the fueling, but normally the valves open when you start intaking fuel, and they're remaining closed at the moment, which is inaccurate. Well, we're just waiting patiently for everything to be loaded on now, but there's some cool door opening and closing animations and all sorts. It's in the normal loading speed at the moment, so you get these statuses here, and you can see the passengers are miraculously appearing. We've even got access to the boarding pass. I'm a little bit sad that there's not full immersion where we could potentially throw off Gwen Greenwood. What's the 5-year-old doing in the window seat anyway? I mean, come on, let's get her off the plane. You can't throw them off. That's not immersion at all, is it, Kitty?
No, absolutely. I mean, often we'd walk down the aisle and find passengers we don't like the look of and just hook them out the plane.
I mean, who calls a 7-year-old Ed? That's not a young person name.
Yeah, that's a guaranteed no flight risk.
But yeah, we're slowly waiting for the boarding to be completed. I don't think Austin's vegan food is destined for us, but If it is,
Better not be.
we should probably make a PA and ask who the vegan person is, and throw them off too. Disclaimer alert: we are not against veganism. Cammy might be. I'm not. Okay, so I have my able assistant, Kitty Cammy, next to me. He's going to help me with some of the checklists. I should probably point out at this point that he's not, like we were on the Majestic, actually in a shared cockpit. He is just watching my screen. So, not quite the same thing there. He can't click buttons as he wishes and just annoy me. It's just him watching my stream, unfortunately.
Devastating.
Very devastating. I know what you like. For you, anyway. So, we have got a weight of 28, just over 28.5 tons. 28.5 on the FMS as well, although that's not the numbers that I put in. But we will be burning some fuel in a minute, and that's close enough, to be honest with you. This is all an estimation game. We just want to get a quick flight on. Obviously we want to do the safest options as well, but just want a quick flight on really to just see how this aircraft handles. So routing wise, we are just gonna, in fact, let me do the first trick and bring the FMS up here, that makes it easier. We're just going on the Thales 6 Charlie departure from Edinburgh. Need to chop out those no links, and then we're going to basically route down to Ribble. I'm probably going to delete Ribble, to be honest, and just jump in a little bit beforehand, possibly jumping to a Digi at 20,000 feet. I'm going to stop at 20,000. I think that's plenty. See how long it takes us to get up there, to be honest, as well, because we are quite heavy, so I'm expecting it will be a while to get there. We certainly won't go up to 26,000. And then we're going into Glasgow on ILS 23. I'm going to try a quick hold at Lanark, just to see what the hold entry is like. At the moment I've got the hold programmed for Edinburgh, which is the normal engine failure procedure that you do here. I'm not sure if that's 06 or 24 that I've programmed in there, but I have a hold anyway, it doesn't matter. And then we'll do an ILS into Glasgow. So just a very short hop. I'm not expecting it to take too long, to be honest with you. What's the total distance on that? It's not very far, is it? Well, that's 96 miles. I think it's probably only about 150 miles total. We're going to shave off a large portion of this anyway. So, what things can I tell you about? Well, you saw the loading and fueling animations there. They're not bad. They're not bad. There was something else I noticed, actually. Kitty pointed it out too. He's very observant. Batteries. So if we're on the external power at the moment, as you can see, and the battery loads are 0. If you discharge the batteries, I'm just going to do that, and we're just going to run on battery power for a mo. It takes the secondary bus offline, but you can see the batteries are discharging. That's great. That's what should happen. But if you just give it sort of a few seconds, and I might just jump forward, say about 20 or 30 seconds, so we've discharged the batteries. Ooh, they're all jumping around now, look. Doesn't even have a... What is that number? Are you seeing that, Kitty?
Yeah, I think we're seeing a glitch in the matrix.
They're just... Oh, there we go. Right, that's probably been long enough. Let's put the external power back on. And a ding. And as you can see, I'll have to check what that ding is. As you can see, they jump immediately to quite a low load. And actually, I recall them being at 0, so to be fair, there is some sort of charging load going on here, but it would normally be a lot higher than that to start with. So that's probably me being a bit picky, to be honest with you. What was that caution? Not very clear. Anyway, clear that. So, we've got the route in, we've got the fuel in. Now, I'm yet to discover, and you should probably now mention in the comments how I should have read the manual for this add-on. You can click here and the speeds auto-populate. Not sure why vFly and vClimb are vFly being a higher number than vClimb. Bit confused by that, but it could be based on the flap setting. So we're going to work out whether or not we need to change the speeds once we've set our flap for takeoff. Perhaps when we specify the takeoff flap, it'll rejig the speeds. So the doors are all shut. We've got everyone on board. As you can see, our wonderful, fully laden aircraft. And Quinton Green, who's 15 and has an interesting name. I mean, Quinton? I don't think I've heard that name before. Have you, Cammy?
Yeah, could tell Karen to keep a close eye on that one.
He sounds sketchy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Not too worried about frequencies. I haven't set this trim for takeoff. Well, I haven't set it for right of takeoff, which is what you should normally do. It's right in the middle, and there's a good reason for that. Basically, this aircraft doesn't seem to need any rudder trim, which is a little bit of a failing, but more on that later. And let's just check the takeoff Mac. So it's a forward position, so let's get the elevator trim rearward. There we go. So that's all set up. Let's set the nav sources to the correct ones. I've done a master crossfill across here. If you guys need any help with setting up the FMS, then don't ask me in this video because it takes forever. Go and have a look at one of our other videos and we'll tell you how to do it there. Heading bug's pretty much there. We've got 3,000 feet. Let's go around heading and outside in. That looks set up. Room magenta. HSI's across to me. Looking good. Right, well, let's get this show on the road then, because we're not here to talk, are we? Cammy, I think we're up to the starting checklist, are we not?
We are indeed. Would you like the starting checklist, Captain?
Yes, please, sir.
Right, starting checklist, EFB aeroplane mode.
Doesn't really matter. It's a simulation.
Alright, just doing the immersion thing. Trims.
We've just talked about those and they're all set.
Doors and fueling lights.
They are all out and I've just turned off that screen, but it was all green.
Passenger signs.
On.
Escape hatch.
Closed.
Cabin reports.
She's doing her own thing, we don't care what's going on back there.
Flight gate door.
Probably locked. We'll find when Quinton lets himself in.
Yeah,
is it
that's
Quinton?
The thing. Quinton.
I think so. Sorry, carry on.
Lunatic. Transponder.
Is... Oh, we'll just go with 2000. On alt.
Anti-call.
Rouge.
APU bleeds.
Oh, we need the APU, don't we? Let's get the APU on.
Would help.
You can actually hear it, that's good. Can't believe you can't move the visors forward. I mean, that in itself is a deal breaker for me.
I mean, there's no point having a shared cockpit experience if you can't shift each other's sun visors around, is there, really?
No. And this is correct as well, look. When the external power's on and the gen is pushed in, it'll still be in the warn mode until you disconnect the external power. There you go. I think that thing just disappears. We hope. We'll come back to that. Okay, so APU bleed is off.
Okay, batteries, bus faults.
Batteries are all on, and we're looking for a minimum 26, which we definitely have.
Okay, that's starting checklist complete. After start checklists next.
Excellent. How do we get a pushback?
Ask nicely.
Pre-plan our pushback. Here we go. Another cool add-on here. I think we just do this, don't we? Look at that. Beautiful.
Ground to cockpit. Plan acknowledge. Call me through the menu when you're ready.
Ooh, through the menu. That's complete RT.
Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up.
Is he?
Oh.
Oh.
Yep. He's just doing a bit of off-roading.
Hmm. And through fences. Oh, and he's probably just going to shovel these stairs out the way.
I mean, that's a realistic representation of a real tug driver.
Hmm. Actually, I am being unfair. Look, those loads have come down on the batteries. That is good. Oh well, I'll get rid of the GPU instead. I don't know what was going on with that. It has got auto connect GPU on, but who knows?
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
Look at this immersion.
Do we tell him now that that tug isn't going to work on a Dash 8?
No, we'll let him try first.
Okay.
We're getting paid by the hour, remember?
True.
Oh wait, no, we're not. We don't work for that other airline. Can I see myself getting lifted up? This is where they tell us we're just too heavy. Oh, here we go. Rotate. I did a plane joke.
Tow connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Released.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
Oh, don't mind if I do. Okay, shall we start number 2?
Rock and roll.
Okay. Should we do a bit of single engine taxi?
I think that might be good. We're all about saving fuel and saving the environment at unspecified airline, aren't we?
Hmm. At insert airline name here.
Oh no.
Ah!
The Texaco truck.
Jesus!
Ah! The suicidal driverless Texaco truck.
Did you not see the red flashing light, mate?
And there's another one coming for us now.
No, that's Austin's vegan food. I've just offended. I've offended the XPlane people, haven't I? Because isn't Austin the guy that one of the developers that makes XPlane, or one of the owners?
I don't know. I don't know enough about XPlane.
Please don't remove my account.
Are they going to be round our houses with burning torches tomorrow?
More than likely. Is that not far enough? Where are we going now?
You planned the pushback.
Oh, he's turning now and slowing down. Perfect. I did.
This is why they don't let the captain plan the pushback in real life.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Ding. Missed that
Disconnecting
sound.
tow. Stand by.
That's incredibly quick to get up to speed. Excellent. Missing a symbol on that PTU. There's a little box that should be underneath it.
Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the left. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
He's so nice.
Unrealistically polite.
Considering what they get paid.
Bless them. Almost as bad as flying instructors.
Right, I'm just going to jab a few buttons on. Can't do the auto feather yet. He got out of that quickly. Hang on, you've got my pins. Come back. They're supposed to go behind this seat.
Oh no.
Right, after starts then.
After start checklist, external power APU.
Off.
Radar.
Is... Oh, it doesn't work, does it?
Oh no. De-ice pressure. Oh, are we going to do the de-icing?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, this is something I promised to show everyone. I'm not sure if we can see it on this side. Let's put the boots on and see if the de-ice pressure does anything. We're at 8 psi on both. That sounds a bit low. But let's put the boots on. Does it do anything? look like it does anything, to be honest. Let's go outside and see if there's any boot animations, shall we? Put them on fast, so they should do 6-second groups.
We have been reliably informed that there are animated boots.
Well, been unreliably shown a bad demonstration. Why is it not? Okay, it's possible that the boots don't want to play ball while... Yeah, okay. Don't think the boots are playing ball while we're on a single engine. I've got the number 2 bleed on. Okay, we'll test it the hold.
Okay, ice protection test and sets.
I've just put standard flight on.
Fuel pumps.
It's 3 degrees anyway. Fuel pumps are on.
Rudder.
Yeah, okay. We should have this set to flap 5, shouldn't we?
Would help.
If you don't have flap 5, you get full. You don't get full travel on the rudder. So there we go. It has been set. And now we've got flap 5. What happens when I click on here? Absolutely nothing. So those.
It's still wrong.
Yeah. I've added them on your side as well. There you go. Not sure about those speeds.
Nose wheel steering.
On.
Hydraulics.
They're all done, and I'm supposed to do a number 3 check as well. Ding. Fall forward, fall off, turn that off. That depressurizes. Caution should go off. Excuse me. Okay, I've got to cancel the caution. That should normally just go off by itself, because what created the caution was the elevator pressure here, and then if it goes off again, that should go off too. There you go, we've spotted something else. Right. Yeah, they're checked.
Flaps and speeds.
So we've got flap 5 set and indicating speeds. I don't know what they're doing, but you've informed me that at least for V1, rotate, and V2, they're about 2 or 3 knots off the book figures.
They're 3 knots off, 4 knots off, and then they're about right for V-fly and V-climb. They're just the wrong way around.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why they're like that. I don't think there's a setting for that, is there? No. Okay, fine. Let's...
That's after starts complete. Next is taxi.
Nice one. Okay, let's try taxiing this thing. Something I've noticed as well, I've got my trigger bound to toggle reverses for XPlane, and it seems to have a reasonable effect on here. So you've got these gated systems, as you probably saw me showing you earlier, on the power levers anyway. Well, you've seen the, sorry, on the prop levers, but you do have them on the power levers as well. It seems to be taxiing on one engine, alright, although it's normally quite hard to get moving and turn against the live engine when you're fully laden, but never mind. Anyway, what was I saying? So the trigger now allows you to go between detents on the power levers, which is kind of useful. I'm not going to tell you how long it took me to realise that, because for a while I was a bit annoyed that I couldn't get it into disc on landing, but actually you can if you've got toggle reversers bound. I'm not even going to try and start the number 1 engine while I'm taxiing, can we?
Probably not a good idea. You don't have a helpful presence in the right-hand seat.
Nope. I tell you what though, those sounds are spot on, aren't they?
Yeah, they are very evocative.
Listen to the noise dropping it in and out of disc. It's like being there.
Yeah.
It's honestly, this is exactly how it sounds. As soon as you drop the power lever low enough, you just start to hear the blade slicing again. It's a fantastic noise.
Such a distinctive sound, isn't it?
And if you listen carefully, you can even hear the yoke rattling, which is definitely something it does. Right, we've got a stop bar ahead of us, Kitty. Are you that bothered that if I taxi through it, you're gonna like phone the CAA, or are you gonna let it pass this time?
I mean, you know, if nobody sees it, does it really happen?
Nobody watching? No, I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
YOLO.
Don't tell anyone. Definitely don't screenshot that. Oh, this stop bar flashes. Okay, let's just start the number 1 up, and then we'll do the taxi checks. Something I've not actually tried is the reduced takeoff power. Yeah, that seems to work. Well, they're the wrong increments though. Yeah, that's not right. It does something silly like 90, 89, 87, 85, 83. Yeah, that's in the wrong sequence. But you can reduce takeoff power, which is good, but we're going to go end top because we're heavy.
Why on earth would you want to reduce the takeoff power?
Exactly. Right, shall we do the taxi checks then?
Yeah, we'll do. Okay, taxi checklist. Bleeds are on a min. Electrical panel.
That needs to go off, that's checked.
Takeoff warning test.
Oh, now you ask me. Right. Park brakes off. And it's right over here. There we go. Oh, tested.
Auto feather.
Is select white.
Power takeoff.
End top.
Flight instruments.
Instrumenting.
Flight controls.
Yeah, so that's off. And just check there. Working. Let's have a look externally, shall we? Because spoilers and ailerons. Love it.
Sweet.
All checked.
Your damper.
Is on.
PFD, MFD, ED.
Looks good to me.
Clearances.
Yeah, I've got the HSI. We're going up to 3,000 feet on the initial departure. On the Taler 6 Charlie is the SID for runway 24. Wind is quite calm. And yeah, the rest of it is all just made up because we're in a sim. In it.
Awesome. And the cabin's secure, I guess.
Cool.
As long as Quentin's not causing too much trouble.
I can't hear him moving around. He's certainly not appeared here.
Fair play. Alright, that's taxi checklist complete. Next is lineup.
Yeah, let's do the lineup checks and then I will line up.
Okay, anti-calls.
White.
Landing lights.
On.
Pitot static system.
Is all on.
Bleeds.
They're on a min.
Caution warning panel.
It's just park brake.
FMA.
Is checked.
And that's lineup checklist complete. Next after takeoff.
So we haven't got that de-ice pressure caution anymore, which is what was causing the boots not to work. We should get these light up now. Here we go. Now let's have a look at the boot animations. Oh, did I see something on the tail there? Perhaps. Oh yeah, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
It did something. Probably on a dwell time now. Okay, well, they have animated them. That's a decent amount of detail, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very good.
Alrighty, shall we line up?
I think that's a pretty good idea.
Just clicking the... What's the caution flashing for now? There's nothing. That logic needs a bit of work.
Likes to flash, don't judge it. I think the main caution is the fact that you're flying the plane.
That should be a master warning.
Yeah.
I've also, if you haven't noticed, I've got the tiller bound to the yaw axis, so it makes life easier. I'm not grabbing for the tiller with my mouse. Cool, right, so yeah, we've got all our speeds in. Just going to climb up to we need acceleration altitude in, actually. Let me just put that in. Should be 1100. Climb up to 1100. Lower the nose to 10 degrees, get some speed up, and climb away in IIS mode. We'll see what the rudder does as well. I don't think there's much rudder movement, to be honest, which is a surprise given these have got two 13-foot propellers on them, but we'll figure it out. Are you happy, Cammy?
As I ever am.
Yeah, I know. Right, let's get it. Hold the click button, there we go, holding trigger. And also, you can easily push it into emergency power. Although, where's my thing gone? I can't see the symbols anymore. Oh well. Oh, there they are. Interesting.
80.
That's checked. And I'm going to select nav. That's better.
Acceleration altitude.
Flap 0. Gauge autopilot. Please on min. And let's see if we can do it on the joystick. Setting climb power. Actually, no. I'm going to have to do it this way. Climb power 900. Flaps are at 0, setting IS to 10. Let's go up to 200 now, shall we?
Take us to space.
Okay, we've got the vertical mode there. I'm going to have to hide the yoke now, people. Sorry about this. And I'm going to set 1013. In fact, that's all I need. I'll put it back again. Has it set your side? Yeah, it has. Why has it not coupled your FMS in properly? Where are we going to? Uniform whiskey. So what is this saying? Who knows?
It's got something different on the ND as well.
Yeah, I'm going to try and cross-fill it again. Obviously I'm driving from my side, so it doesn't matter too much. I'm really not sure. Oh, it might be... No? Oh, now it's really messed up your... Oh no. Here it is. I have no idea what it's saying there.
Oh well, would you like an after takeoff checklist?
Just stand by, because one thing I want to see what happens is how it makes this first turn, because Aircraft likes to overshoot normally, and it's overshot.
Very accurate.
Although actually, sorry, no, that's a flyover point because of the asterisks. So it should overshoot. But it's always interesting because now, if you look, now it's got to try and get back onto this intercept. Just a bit of strange behaviour there. Alright, yeah, let's do the after takeoffs, please.
After takeoff checklist, landing gear,
Is up.
flaps,
0.
bleeds,
They are on a min.
climb power.
Is set at 900.
That's after takeoff's done, climb checklist is next.
Yes, please.
Okay, altimeters,
We're on 1013 now.
ice protection.
Well, it doesn't really do anything, does it?
Oh.
But it's where we're at. We should have probably had the props on at that point, but it doesn't matter. We're not actually picking up any ice. Is working.
Hides and fuel pumps.
They need to all go norm and off. Yep,
Auto feather.
is off.
And that's the climb checklist completed.
Wunderbar. Well, it's a beautiful day up here.
Sucks to be below the cloud.
So I've got a big mistake that I better not make, and that is the prop axis that I have on a slider is currently sitting at 0. So if I touch that slider, these are going to shoot all the way back to fuel off. So I better not touch that slider, kiddie.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting.
All looks good so far, apart from the things that we've highlighted. You got any thoughts, kiddie?
Yeah, I think it's a very impressive bit of kit, but the sort of elephant in the room, to me, is does it do a better job than the Majestic?
That rudder has not moved. So
yeah.
that's unfortunately quite a big one for me, because one of the major things about handling this aircraft is just how, not twitchy, but how much handling you have to put in to manage having those two big propellers spinning round. And this doesn't, I think it's handling like a jet. Maybe someone can confirm with me if they've used a jet model on it. That should have gone off. And that should say 425. Are we going up that quick? Yeah, okay, that looks alright. Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed with that. I mean, obviously the rudder trim does work, it does put it in and out of trim, but you don't need to touch it. Unless I've not noticed it, and again, mention it in the comments if I've missed it, but that seems to have not moved.
Yeah, I've not spotted any kind of movement in it.
And you'll see when we level off as well, it'll just stay, even with power and speed changes, it will just not move.
The question to ask is that deliberate, or is it a feature which isn't in yet?
I would have thought that they would be updating it, wouldn't you?
You'd hope so, wouldn't you? Certainly for the price point that this thing comes in at, you want a realistic simulation of the yaw of the real aeroplane. I mean, it's such a significant part of what flying the real thing is like.
Absolutely.
I mean, to be fair, even the light aircraft that I fly at work, if you don't mess around with the rudder trim in the cruise, then you're going to be flying along on the wonk constantly, like tilted off to one side. So even a light aircraft, if you don't set it up properly, it won't fly straight. So for something with this much power and props the size of this, to not have any kind of effects at all is a bit sort of immersion breaking, really, for me anyway.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Because that's one of the things that you'd expect to experience with a large and powerful turboprop. You'd have these extra forces that should be at play. Okay, there's 150, let's swap it to pitch. We should hold a pitch of about 5 degrees, which, that's pretty good. Oh, bloody hell, that jumps around a bit. I won't touch that again. What happens if I just click it? No, it still doesn't give you much fine tuning on the pitch. But it should sit at about pitch 5 when you get to about flight level 150. It's usually around that mark, and you just tap the IAS button and it will swap it into pitch mode, and it looks to have been basically where I'd expect to see it. Okay, passing over Tala now. It's not a bad climb rate, I think. It's probably more or less what we expect to see, fully laden. What do you think, Cammy?
Yeah, probably about right, really. It's not going up like an absolute rocket ship. So obviously we've got a full aircraft, but it's still going up a lot faster than a Cessna 152, which is good.
I don't know. I flew a particularly fast one not long ago. Might have given a Dash 8 a run for its money. I think I saw a shock wave coming off the wings, so we were just approaching the speed of sound.
Yeah, you do have to watch out with those.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not delusional. I'm definitely sure that I didn't see a 152 break the speed of sound, but it was close. It was very close.
Yeah.
Right, I think we're looking good. So we're going to cut the corner in a second and just hop over to a DG. I'm just going to make sure we're at flight level 200 before we do that, and then I'll jump in. That's one to go. My first officer's fallen asleep. Normally they'd confirm the outsail mode is in and just read back the pressure setting in use. He's incapacitated now. It's alright, we're going into Glasgow though.
Fine.
Yeah, there's Outstar, that's capturing it nicely. And there's Outlocked. Set 850, gonna have to do it one at a time.
Don't forget to guard it with your hand.
I did guard it, didn't you see my other hand?
Oh yeah, of course.
And look at that, no change to the trapezoid, the slip and skid indicator. If I just drop the power levers now, it would yaw massively. Nothing.
Yeah, that's a significant emission, I think.
Agreed. Rightio, so let's get set up for Glasgow. Now the first thing I need to do is change the hold. There is a hold at Lanark. And it should be 303 with a right hand turn, and it's a 4-mile hold just to mix things up a little bit. I'm going to arm that hold now. So that's there. That'll give us a bit of extra time. Now we would expect this to appear. Well, I can't see his side because that FMS is not copying things across like it should anyway. But now if I'm going to cut in actually at an EP, and then it should go straight into the hold. It's Lanark. There we go. Lanark hold. That's in 7,000 feet. Okay, so we'll swap over to that. While I'm just waiting for this next turn, let's set up the ILS as well. So I make it 228 inbound. Hold down format. There we go. 228 inbound. Don't care about your side, Cammy.
Rude.
Let's just hide the yoke for this as well. Down to a minima. We're going to go for a Cat 1. It's 230. And what's our current weight? 28338. 28.11, maybe 28.5. We're still going to be quite heavy for landing.
You want 28.5 or 28?
Are we overweight at that weight? I'm trying to remember. It has been a while since we've flown. Oh well, if we're overweight, it's going to be an overweight landing. YOLO.
Godspeed.
Let's do 28.5 then.
Okay, flap 15.
Yeah.
27, 55, 31.
So not 28 and 48 then.
No.
That's strange. Really strange. Right, let's go to an EP, shall we? Now, can I VNav this, is the question. I can. Wow, that's a lot of bank. So let's program in 7,000. There we go. Don't forget the magic out cell. 110.1 I've got as the frequency as well, Kitty.
Shall I get a plate up?
You can check it if you like. Be awful if I got all the way there and I'd messed it up. 331.
It would be awful, but also funny.
Yeah.
It is 110.1.
Okay, that's all tuned in then. Right, I better get a QNH for Glasgow as well. I'm just going to cheat and do it on the map. It's probably going to be the same as where we left, isn't it? 1023, yeah. Oh. Yeah, okay. Let me just uncouple those as well. Don't like that. We usually, on the line, we use the ISI to get your en route QNH in, or your destination QNH programmed in, so you've got it there to read off.
Always useful to have an idea of how far below you the ground actually is.
So how's this VNav going to work? Give me 2,000. Ah, there we go. Top of descent alert. This is good. The V-bar's in. Should we see if it does it?
Let's go for it.
Let's arm VNav. So hopefully, when it gets to the centre, it's a bit like a glide slope indicator. We're expecting it to roll over the top and start descending at 2,000 feet per minute. Famous last words. Shall we
Very
do?
exciting.
What's the next check? So descent checks, I think. Is that right?
A firm. Would you like them?
Yes, please.
Descent checklist, GPWS landing flap.
I'm going to do a flap 15 approach.
Pressurization.
Set to about 50 feet for, where's my button? There it is. 50 feet for Glasgow. Actually, it's 26, which is fine.
Reapings and bugs.
Reviewed and supposedly doing something. Let me set your side for you as well. There you go. Oh, I suppose you need a decision as well, 230. What's that descent doing then? No, we're not there yet. So we've got the hold there, it's mapped. So I think what we'll do is we'll go once around the hold and then we'll just try and position ourselves on the ILS. What do you reckon?
Sounds good to me.
Excellent. Where's my V-bar then?
It seems to be enjoying itself right up at the top now.
Yeah. Oh, is it coming down now? Yes.
Oh, it's coming.
Hey, hey, VNAV path. Power levers to idle.
Oh, baby.
Oh, hello.
Oh, baby.
Excellent. That's what happens when you've got an old joystick. Yeah, that wouldn't happen, you know.
Yeah, they wouldn't just come straight back on again, would they?
They wouldn't go to 850 either. You basically feathered them at that point and you'd get what's called an overspeed and they'd sit at 1050. Oh well. That was a good thing to leave in the video.
It's intentional, we're just testing this.
So there you go, if you inadvertently feather your propellers in the real aircraft, you will you won't be able to get back to a manageable RPM, but in this one it just lets you go straight back to where you were, which is good, because it just saved my bacon.
But it's bad because it's not realistic.
Nice steep descent, that's what I like to see.
I mean, if you don't have to brace yourself on the glare shield, you're not descending steeply enough in my book.
It's the people in the back. I think I just saw some ice roll under the door from someone's gin and tonic.
Ah, they'll be okay.
They'll get another one. Normally it's very difficult to slow down when you're really heavy and you're doing 2,000 feet per minute, although I'm saying that we're not doing 2,000 feet per minute. But still, I'm having to add power to try and keep 230 knots, which is maybe a little bit off the real thing. So what kind of a join are we going to expect at the hold, Cammy?
Looking at the inbound, that should be a direct.
Yeah, that's an easy one, isn't it?
Yeah.
303 right turn 4 miles, yeah, so it's around that way. Should just be a direct join. We can't time it, of course, because it's 4 mile hold. We'll just have to imagine that it's doing what it's supposed to.
I'd be having absolute kittens if I was trying to explain that to a student at work.
Yeah. Well, I'm not your student.
And aren't you glad of that?
So, I mean, we're getting down towards the cloud layer and it's minus 23. So, we would expect some degree of icing going through this cloud layer, and you'd normally get ice detect flash up on here. What you tend to do when you're approaching it is open the doors and get the props ready. You won't increase the ref switch until you... certainly the procedure we used to do is actually... that's a lie, you put it on preemptively for going into the cloud. And what that'll do is it'll just increase your your various safety speeds and the stall margins at the bottom, the barber's pole, according to ice. Something else I just noticed, and we talked about this before, I think Kitty and I discovered this. Why are my oil temperatures at 13 degrees? We suspect it's something to do with power settings, but that will not happen. I mean, that's
13 degrees inside a running jet engine.
Yeah, no. I don't know why that's saying it. But, yeah, another interesting thing. I'm probably going to forget, so I'm just going to put the lights on now before I get to flight level 100. What's going on here? It's not really showing a descent, is it? Nope. Well, everything's where it should be. Okay. Ah, oil temperature's gone up by a degree. Was it 13 before? It's now 14.
Gone up very slightly.
So Lanark at 7,000 feet. Looks good. We just need 1,600 feet per minute. That's excellent. Seeing as we're going down to 7,000, let's set the QNH and we'll do the approach checks, Cammy.
Roger. Approach checklist altimeters.
And now I've screwed myself over while I have to set your side. 1023 set.
And cross-checked. Fuel transfer
Is off.
Hides and fuel pumps.
All on.
Hydraulics.
It's coming up slowly. Checked.
Passenger signs.
Never let them out. Why would you?
Scumbags. Cabin.
Probably secure.
Awesome. Approach checklist complete. Landing checklist is next.
Nice one. Still no descent on that pressurization panel. Is that just stuck?
Going to make for an interesting touchdown, isn't it? If we're still pressurized to 8,000 feet.
Yeah, well, the diff is coming down, but it should show a descent, really. Okay, let's slow right down now. Should be under 210, really, for the hold. The only trouble with the VNAV mode as well is normally you try and reduce your rate just when you get to within one to go, and of course this will just command the VNAV all the way down to the capture point, which scares people who are below you in the hold. Traffic, traffic. Oh, we can't see that either, can we?
I was just about to say, doesn't work anyway.
There's one to go. It's sort of naturally backing off. Really, you'd want to be under 1,000 feet per minute now. I'd probably bring it back to 500. Hold star.
Oh, I saw the oil as low as 7 degrees then.
Excellent. Okay, we have entered the hold.
Oh baby.
I mean, that looks like quite a graceful hold entry.
Yeah. Definitely better than some of the ones my students show me.
Hmm.
Not naming names, I had somebody cross the beacon once, turn the wrong direction and then just fly away from the hole.
They clearly had somewhere else to be. You
Yeah.
just need to be a bit more patient, I think.
Disregard holds require something else.
Precisely. That should be written in the book of code.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not actually in the cloud yet, so we can't really see whether or not we're going to be picking up any ice, but when we come back round, I'll... oh, this is a slow heading bug. Oh, that's better. When we come back round, I'll gear us up for a descent. And the platform for the approach is... just getting my chart up again. 2-9, interestingly. There's some nice terrain to the north of Glasgow as well, but of course we don't have any visibility on that either. Cheers, guys.
Fine. I mean, if we don't have a terrain radar, then the terrain isn't really there.
No. You just fly through it.
Yeah. I think we're revealing too many secrets of the airline pilots now to people. I think that we're going to have hordes of angry guys on our doorsteps complaining that we told the world that you can clip through terrain.
Okay, so maybe we should sort of lay off it a little bit.
Perhaps. Maybe we're like... Do you remember that magician guy who used to like give all of magicians' secrets away on TV?
Didn't he get, like, murdered by all the other magicians?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I remember that. Right, I'm just going to come back round and then...
Beacon outbound.
we'll just flick it into heading mode. Can we activate the approach on here? No, we can't. We can proceed.
Oh.
I mean, that's quite a neat hole, to be honest. I think it's varying the banks so that it's just following the curve.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't complain about that. Let's try
Probably
to
a little
proceed.
bit better than the real thing.
So if we hit proceed, it should be the next time over the beacon. It should proceed. And it's proceeding to a no link.
Nice.
Let's delete that. There we go. Should probably think about descending as well. $2,900 feet. What does this need us to do it at? Barely anything. Let's just drift down at 500 feet per minute, shall we? Right, so we said proceed, so I'm hoping that it's going to proceed.
Can only hope.
It is proceeding.
10 out of 10.
Let's get it down. It'll be a bit of a weird turn onto final, but let's see how we get on. Don't do this at home, kids. Be some air traffic controllers wincing right now, knowing what's on the other side of Glasgow's approach.
Yeah.
Let's just overshoot it. I'm going to help it a little bit. I'm going to get under 200 knots, chuck a stage a flap out, and then try and go round the corner at 160. Right, there's a stage of flap going out. We'll have to get rid of that ref switch before we start the approach.
Yep.
So it's -8 and we're starting to go into the cloud. I would have thought that we'd start getting some warnings about ice for sure at this point. I don't know if there's any actually on the model of the aircraft. I mean, alright, we're still slightly in the tops, aren't we?
But the tops is the worst place for it, isn't it?
Yeah, it always used to go off in the tops. Used to call it the top of cloud detector.
I mean, if the simulator is accurately representing what conditions are like today, I was flying today and I was picking up ice in the cloud. So that means we should definitely be getting ice by cat logic.
Cat logic is best logic in some cases.
Yeah.
This is the longest part of the flight.
Insert elevator music here.
Should we fast forward it a bit? Still no indications of ice. It's a hell of a good looking model though, isn't it?
No ice, but still looking nice.
Oh, I've just noticed they've added some dirt marks from the tyre on the fuselage. That's a nice touch. It's probably the texture, the livery that we've got more than anything though, isn't it?
Yeah, whoever makes these liveries is unbelievably talented.
There's one to go.
Yeah.
We have a DME, which is great. XPlane does some weird things sometimes with DMEs. When you were in sort of any icing conditions as well, you've got this little spigot here that sticks out on the top of the wiper blade. Ooh, well I remember as well. He says. Listen to the silence now. It's brilliant, isn't it? But yeah, you've got this spigot here. I mean, it should be in the horizontal position for it to work, and it builds up ice there as an indication of what the tail's doing. But as you could see, XPlane doesn't really have any of it. See how much quieter it is with the wipers up.
That's a really brilliant, brilliantly nerdy thing to remember to include.
Still can't activate the approach, so we're going to probably have to juggle swinging it into ILS mode and then quickly arm it there. So that's out lock now. Still -3 annoyingly. We're just coming out underneath the cloud.
2500.
Radout's now alive. I think it's going to fluff this turn, don't you?
I want to believe it should probably start turning now, but it's not.
Turn!
Oh, it's
Oh,
going.
it is.
Oh, God, look at that high ground.
Yep.
Wave to the nice people on the top of the hill.
Right, I'm going to do a juggle now. Heading. And then we'll arm the approach. Just change the close a little bit. There we go.
Lock's alive.
Lock's captured.
Glide's alive as well.
Look at that, beautiful. Should probably get some other things down. Let's get rid of the ref switch because we're not taking on ice. We'll go gear down. Oh, lovely. I mean, how does it know? Down 3 greens. Flap 15 is selected. Reduced NP. Nope, that doesn't want to play ball. Okay, that's glide start. We can't do a reduced MP landing, probably because I messed with the prop levers, so let's just put them up. There we go. Noise in shoes. Can I have the landing checks, please?
Landing checklist, ice protection.
Is standard with props and doors at the moment.
Landing gear.
Is down 3 greens.
Condition levers.
Max.
Flaps.
We have 15 set indicating and GPWS.
And the bleeds.
On a min.
That's landing checklist complete. Next is after landing.
Assume we're clear to land. Shall I fly it?
Oh, God, man.
Just got to get back to re-ref. I think these are the wrong way round, you know. I think that's what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, the autopilot should be able to do a better job of that on the glide slope.
The autopilot's going to fail its IR at this rate.
Oh well, let's see if I can do a worse job of it. No disconnect noise there, and immediate roll to the left. Excellent. It's probably my controls. Rudder has not needed anything doing to it for the entire duration of this flight.
Rudder isn't even real, bro.
Concentration now. I was worried we weren't going to see a runway then.
It is there.
I need a smoother joystick.
Start a GoFundMe. You're stable at 1,000.
Thank you. I mean, this is the best part, isn't it? Get the autopilot off, hand fly it. Don't fuck it up. Might have to beep that out.
I mean, I'm not saying that Dash 8 pilots are better than regular airline pilots, but in fact, that's definitely what I'm saying. Stable.
Thank you. Yes, I'm not incapacitated at 100 above, thanks for checking.
Sweet.
Those pappies seem awfully high. Is this like a 5-degree path? Glide slope's going crazy.
40, 30, 20, 10.
Catch it with a bit of power.
We actually touched down.
Yes.
Sweet.
Nice.
Alright,
go.
I think that counts as I didn't even realise we had landed at tier.
I don't know, we'll watch the replay in a bit. See if we had actually touched down. But, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. That's how most of my landings go. Not even going to bother single engine. Watch where I'm going. Right, let's just plonk it on any old stand, shall we?
Yeah, let's get into the Holiday Inn.
Is it on here? Can we see it? Over there somewhere, isn't it?
No. It was on P3D, wasn't it?
Do you want to do the after landing checks for me?
Oh, I guess. Control lock should be on because the first officer's an idiot.
Now it is.
Anti-coal.
I've done everything else is in the wrong place. Red.
Flaps.
They are 0.
Radar doesn't even exist. Flight taxi.
Is taxi.
Ice protection.
Is now standard flight.
Main bus tie.
Now it's tie.
Your damper.
Off.
Hydraulics.
Staying on. Come on, Luke. Come on. Oh, it's the vegan guy again.
Oh my, it's mental.
I got to give way to you. Come on, beep beep. Hurry it up. Don't anyone else cross. It's only a better pushback plug-in, isn't it? Yeah, we haven't got anything for a stand. Let's just pick one of these stands. Normally, we used to get the one right in the corner, which was an absolute pain to manoeuvre onto. I'm just going to take this one.
It's going to be some really, really annoyed A320.
Shot it a little bit. Let's get the APU ready, shall we?
Burn the retinas out of the non-existent marshal.
There's no stop line. That'll do. We did the afterlanders, didn't we?
We did. Got shut down.
Stand by. On a time of 30 seconds. Yeah, go for the shutdown checks.
Brakes.
Are on.
Hydrogen fuel pumps.
Didn't do your job, did you? Norman off.
Number 2, power and condition levers.
Or both. They are disc start feather.
No steering.
Off.
Radar doesn't exist.
Buggered.
Transponder
Is stood by.
bleeds.
They're both off and min.
External power or APU.
APU's on.
Condition levers.
30 seconds? Yep. Fuel off.
Fuel off. Passenger signs.
Off.
Released Quentin upon the world. Lights.
Gonna wait for the props to stop. This does take seems to take ages for those prop RPMs to drop. And the oil pressure as well. Like, why is the oil pressure still at 52 when the engines are basically off?
The oil temperature is also higher here on the ground with the engines off than it was in place.
Was that the oil pressure now? That's the number 1 engine oil pressure. Oh, now is the number 2 engine oil pressure. Right, here we go. And the props have finally stopped. Lights are off.
Battery master.
Staying on.
That's your shutdown checklist complete.
Well, let's open some doors, and then should we talk about what we think? Let's open
That
some
sounds like a good idea to me.
Before I jump into some spiel about my pros and cons, have you got anything you want to add, Cammy?
from my point of view, like I said earlier, I'm
Whoops.
sort of lining it up against the Majestic, which I'm a huge fan of. I think it's a brilliant add-on. The Majestic is both cheaper and has more features. You can make plenty of arguments about P3D being a rubbish simulator in comparison to XPlane, but the Majestic uses a custom flight model which works outside of P3D. So that kind of negates a lot of the downside of being in P3D. So to me, it doesn't justify the price. It looks beautiful. There's an enormous amount of care that's gone into making the cabin, but it doesn't justify its price versus the Majestic for me. That's me out.
That's great. I mean, we can finish on that. So for me, the main points are, yes, there's been a tremendous amount of detail has been put into this aircraft. I mean, one of the other things that I'd like to just really talk about, which I get the chance to do it here, you see the number 2 hydraulic pressure is still charged. This would have normally discharged a lot sooner on the real aircraft, but it allows me to prove a point. If I change the spoilers back to flight taxi, the inboard spoilers are powered by the number 2 system, and sorry, the outboard, not sure. Yeah, the outboard spoilers are powered by the number 2 system, and only the outboard spoilers therefore go up. And as you can see on here, only the outboard spoilers have gone up. I mean, that's incredible detail. I mean, we've not seen any detail like that on Microsoft Flight Sim yet. And they've added that kind of detail, and then they've fallen short with other things. I mean, Cammy, you might be able to advise on this, but I'm pretty sure there's a weather radar system, and I know they might want to use their own one, but there's a weather radar system in XPlane that they could have just thrown on there and not blanked off the button. And the same with the terrain. Why am I getting terrain callouts when the EGPWS isn't showing me anything on here? I would have thought that XPlane has a model for the terrain as well, wouldn't you?
I think, honestly, throwing in a default just taken straight out of the sim rather than having nothing would have been a better option. I mean, the going back to Microsoft Flight Sim again, a much simpler, much cheaper aeroplane, but the Seneca, which I'm a big fan of, has the default Microsoft Flight Sim weather radar, and it's, for a light aircraft, it's brilliant. It's all you need. They didn't have to go to the trouble of coding their own custom weather radar, but it's in there and you can take advantage of it. So I think fair enough if they want to code their own, but at least use the default one in the meantime, would be my opinion anyway.
Yep, I agree. I think the yawing, the lack of yaw effects for such a powerful turboprop is very disappointing, and it really goes to show that, to be quite honest with you, this clearly isn't fully modelling how the Q400 handles, and I think that's probably one of the main reasons that you'd buy this kind of an add-on. You know, study level should be about the flight model as well as the systems and everything that's on it. So it doesn't yaw. I'm assuming it's got some sort of a jet flight model where, you know, power is power and it doesn't swing one way or the other. But that's wrong, and it should really resemble the real aircraft. The smaller things, you know, okay, I talked about the batteries not discharging or charging at the current rate, or the propellers not spooling down at the right speed. Fine, you can live with that, but it's about the handling, you know. The autopilot's fine, the FMS has had a lot of work put into it, and for the most part it's quite functional. I'm not sure what happened with that crossfill. We have had a terrain call out on an approach before, not like the one we just had, because that was slightly more plausible perhaps, but we're just approaching into Edinburgh, it's all flat around and suddenly it goes terrain. I don't understand why it's doing that. It should be inhibiting it on the approach anyway. Icing and rain effects, yeah, okay, so they went to all the effort to model the fact that the blades get quieter when you put them in the vertical position. That's incredible, but we have no icing. We don't have an icing alert on here, and I mean, XPlane does model icing, so I don't know what's happening there, to be honest with you. And I think I echo the sentiments of what Cammy said. I think for the price, this is completely in competition with the Majestic. Now, the Majestic, you can get a shared cockpit, fully modelled circuit breakers, and a failure system which includes randomizations for just under 61 euros, 60 euros 99. That's the Pro edition. This aircraft costs 70 euros and doesn't have any of that. Doesn't have a shared cockpit. Amazing. Okay, fine. It's potentially a lot of development work to add a shared cockpit in, but fully working circuit breakers. And let's not forget, they're just a few small minor points. The Majestic is definitely a better all-rounder. So I just think at the moment that it's priced a bit high for what it is, but if they ironed out all these issues that we're talking about, it would justify it a bit more. Would you agree on that, Cami?
Yeah, I'd definitely go along with that. I mean, yeah, it's incredible to look at, and there are some incredible bits of detail in just little quirky things that they've remembered to add in. There's obviously been a lot of input from real Dash 8 pilots, not us, hint hint, but but there's been a lot of work that's gone in clearly from people who fly the airplane in real life. But I mean, the Dash 8 at the end of the day is a pilot's aeroplane. It's a plane for people who like to grab hold of the controls and fly it around. And if you aren't getting any kind of yaw effects, that's 1/3 of the flying experience, which just isn't there, as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, I mean, I don't even have XPlane, so I can't really say with any degree of accuracy whether I'd have bought this or not. But I certainly won't be going out and buying a copy of XPlane and then spending a further £70 or whatever on this on top of it. I just don't think it's worth it at the moment. In a few weeks or months, it may be the absolute best simulation of a Dash 8 we've ever seen. I don't know.
I should add, visually, I mean, it probably is. The Majestic has got nowhere near the level of detail in the cabin at all. But then, you're not flying in the cabin, are you?
Yeah, absolutely. And the exterior is amazing as well. But then, the Majestic guys have said that they're thinking about, or they are working on bringing the Majestic to Microsoft Flight Simulator, and you can only imagine how good that's going to look. So I think they're going to have to go some to keep to justify being the same or if not more money than the Majestic is. That's for sure. Certainly going forward if the Majestic comes into Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Fantastic. Right, well, I think that pretty much wraps it up from us. Although everything we've said, I've still enjoyed thoroughly trying out this new aircraft, and there is still a lot of massive credit to be given to FlyJSim for going into so much detail, and you can see the amount of work that they've put in. But that being said, we're trying to be critics here, and there's still some work to be done, but it is a really good start and a really good aircraft. So yeah, with that, thanks again for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you again in the next video. Thank you.